Hey, folks, welcome back to the Pulse. My name's Matt. This is Crypto Heartbeat. It's 5:16 on a Sunday evening here in Central Texas. And you know what? I got kicked out. Not really technically kicked out, but you know what? I brought my son up to the office. We thought, you know what? We'll have a good time hanging out, having some double bro time, as we say. And he thought, you know what? I'm going to need to say hello to some folks out there in the crypto land because there's some people who are just downright down. If you're looking at the charts and you follow things as closely as I do, and maybe even follow them more closely than I do, you're not super happy right now. And so, what does Crypto Heartbeat do? But just remind you that you got to keep a stiff upper lip. We got to keep our eyes fixed and recognize that we're just chopping wood, friends. That's what we're doing. I was talking to my son the other day. I said, what would happen if we just took one chop at a tree? We had an axe and we just hit it once every day. He's like, well, Dad, I guess that would it'd fall down. Yeah, at some point it would. And that's what we're doing. We're chopping wood. And so I think a lot of times it's important to just connect with people, just, a little taste of home. Say, hey, what's going on? See how you're doing. But then talk about some exciting things that are happening in the midst of up and down cycles of pumping and dumping. We've got to realize what's happening in the world. And there's some exciting things that are happening in my world that I wanted to share with you, especially coming up tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central over on Rumble. I'm going to be a guest on the Full English show, which Graham Moore is the guy who's leading the English Exit, which is the English Constitution Party and Society. And they're interested in tokenizing their community. What is up? That's awesome. As far as adding to our ecosystem, that's why there's that question mark in the thumbnail. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. But folks, there's something really cool happening. If you missed the Texan tailgate last night, you missed a good one. We had the impromptu arrival of Daniel Miller and really talked about what was happening with Texas independence, which is super cool too. So, you got to look at these things from a macro perspective. And I know you're concerned. You're like, man, what's going to happen? Everything's going DeFi, man. I'm going to tell you, there's things that I know are happening that haven't been announced. There's a lot that's going on. And of course, we're leading right up to Richard Hart's SEC battle. And you got to pick a horse to ride. We've decided we're going to ride this horse. Why? Because I believe the long term is going to be DeFi's time to shine. Because there's not going to be an alternative, right? We don't know of a single Western country who has, CBDCs permanently embedded in their society. We're going to be talking about that today and what the implications of that are for DeFi. Because as they continue to go down this path, it only makes what we're doing more attractive. And I don't mean attractive because it's like, oh yeah, just mad gains. I mean, because it's the only alternative out there. So, and maybe towards the end of this stream, we'll open it up and you can come in and say hello. You want to stream? Come on, let's go. Let's do that. We'll say hello to you. It's Sunday, right? We'll take it easy today. We'll get back in the saddle tomorrow. But look who's here. Taryn's number one. Thanks for being here every single time on every single stream, it seems like. So I appreciate you. And then Tex Hex. What's up, man? What's up, man? Wouldn't it be awesome? Another community to tokenize. Fantastic. The coolest thing about it, Tex Hex, is they literally came in. Brandon and I were sitting there having a chat in a room by ourselves. And Graham came in and said, hey, what you did for the Texas nationalist movement, I'm really interested in, and you have earned my trust. He says, I've had a bunch of people in crypto come and, try to scam us, but what you're doing and the way you're doing it is what we like to do. So pretty excited about what that means, but there'll be more to come about that. And if you want to check it out live and get a feel for the Englishman, check it out tomorrow, 4:00. I'll be promoting that on Twitter as well as in the socials. So I'd love to have you join in on there and see. I couldn't believe it. I was watching his show the other day and there was 350 people live. We don't see that in our community at all in this bear market. Godfather J6, what's going on? Thanks again, as well as Taryn. Godfather J6 is always checking out, always supporting all the streamers. Appreciate you so much. Francis Powell, hello all. And then, of course, David Lee, all the way from Southwestern Indiana. Man, oh man, what's up, my brother? Thanks for having me on the Texan tailgate last night. That was pretty cool. It kind of went over time, and we had Daniel Miller. That was awesome. It's good to see you, my friend. Evo, what's up? What is up? Fallen Comrade is here. What's up, everybody? Hex Force One, another guy's consistently here. It's a Crypto Heartbeat Sunday stream. That is right. Sam Kemp, you're not late. You're right on time, my friend. And Robert Keller, what's up? Good evening. Are you ready for the holiday? Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Let's talk about that. Thanksgiving for us here, a real time to reflect on, what you have. And I think that's a really important thing. So many times we get down and we get kind of in a hole, right? We got kind of tunnel vision. Things are kind of creeping in on us. They're keeping us down. They're making us feel off center. And sometimes you got to back out and you go, hey, you got to count your blessings, as they say. And, Thanksgiving is a time to do that. You kind of look around. I was at church this morning and I kind of looked, the entire family was together for church this morning, which isn't always the case. There's always, teenage kids going here and there. But it was really just a reminder, just like we are blessed, and I would say this, if you're someone that has an internet connection to watch this stream, you are blessed. I know you may be facing some really hard times right now, but folks, there's a lot of crazy stuff happening in this world. And I think we have a responsibility with this whole DeFi thing to serve, right? The mad gains are coming. Folks, you just got to stick around, pick the right horses to ride and ride them. My online ghost, what's going on? What's good, everyone? BM, hello from Australia. Fantastic. Joey Torres is here. And Horde at UK, how does the bridge work now? Is anyone hosting it like Hedron with stakes? The bridge, Crypto Coffee did an incredible video. I would just go to his video. He explained and showed how the bridge works. What's happening is this IPFS stuff is, Pulse Chain and now Hex and the bridge. You can get to all of that stuff now. And what's really cool about that, this is really the application. You're seeing the beginning of an app for that for crypto. And what that means is you don't have to rely on the hosting provider out there. Somebody shuts down a website and you can't get into crypto. So that's the IPFS stuff. And this is really the ultimate in DeFi, is that it's just you and the contract. Hang on, I got to hit the cough button. Getting through that cold. So welcome back. Let's talk about this. The thumbnail today was about countries, communities, and crypto. And I'm really inspired because, momentum is an important thing to have in crypto. And of course, having a narrative that is really compelling. And if you've looked at that thumbnail, you realize, we've got the Texan token. We've got Ophir crypto. We're having a conversation about this English exit, which would be kind of another continent or another country. But more importantly, we're going to have a DEX and we're going to have an incentive token. And then we're working on some things I can't talk about right now about bringing a ton of new liquidity into the Pulse chain and into DeFi. And folks, there are so many people that are building out there that see this. I know you're probably looking at the charts going, man, why is it down 14%? Why are people dumping like this? There's a lot of reasons, folks, and no one really knows the answer. But you know what? This is the interesting time. And if you look at the charts and you look at the past, we've got a little ways to go here. I know everybody wants it to just go parabolic, but it's not. I don't think it's time yet, right? We're still pre-halvening, beginning of the year. We're still sitting November 19th. We got all of December. January is going to be, things will pick up. We've got all these things that are delayed with the ETFs. More money's got to come in. And it's uncertain. But folks, I'll tell you what, Richard Hart, one thing I know about that guy is, one, he sees the future, right? This whole freedom of speech, freedom of movement stuff, he was seeing this stuff before anybody was, before it was really, really at the top of everyone's mind. He's fighting this case. He's working. But I think more importantly, he is defending the fundamentals, right? And what are those fundamentals? Your core inalienable rights. And I can stand behind that. That's really, really important. And right now, it seems like everything is the same, right? It's like, let's say it's fruit, right? You've got apples and oranges and pineapples and bananas and all this stuff. We kind of had like looking across this, produce fruit aisle, if you will. And then there's like a porcupine, right? It's something completely different. Honestly, that's what is coming, is that the Pulse chain is going to stand out so much, not because it's just one of many or similar to others, but it's because it's going to stick out so much and be nice and pointy. I don't know if that's a great analogy at all, but The point is as authoritarians are on the rise, as we see CBDCs increasing in their prevalence and adoption, it's going to be, I think, just like it's been in the past. Remember the Charlie 19, right? Everyone was concerned. Everyone was cautious. Everybody was saying, oh man, got to put on this mask or do this thing. Yeah, we got to be careful. And I was concerned. You were concerned. And we were like, hey, I think people have our best interest in mind. Well, and then you kind of got suspect to that because it became more authoritarian. And then, you started seeing issues. It's the same thing with the CBDCs. Anything that's new, right? People are going to overplay their hand and they're going to use these things to their advantage to get more power. And so, efficiencies of the digital world, we get. That makes sense. But the problem is that people that are aligned with evil forces use those things against us. And so it's just a matter of time before it gets extremely painful and you hear about somebody. Remember the first time you're like, yeah, somebody died in your family from the Charlie 19. You're like, yeah, this is serious stuff. At first it'd be like, well, no big deal. They're telling us it's so much more efficient and it's gonna help us let's get our money easier and faster and better. But what'll end up happening is it'll start being used and you'll meet somebody and know somebody that's been harmed. Or they shut down the wallet because they bought the wrong thing or they said the wrong thing and their social credit score's gone down. Folks, this whole authoritarian thing, we have to have an antidote to. And that's what I see Richard Hart really doing. So don't expect, well, chain link's going up and Arbitrum or whatever, right? You're seeing all these other things. You're like, why can't we go up? They're going up. It's a different time, right? This is that things are going to change, folks. And this is going to be the only alternative. People are going to literally be like, how do I do these transactions with privacy? How do I do them without a social credit score and a digital ID? Folks, it's going to get worse before it gets better. We know that. So keep that in mind. What we're actually fighting for here, true DeFi, isn't just, a couple weeks and watch a chart. It is a long-term thing because this world isn't like barreling towards freedom and sovereignty. It's barreling towards slavery and scarcity. And so we have a responsibility in that. And I think that all of those folks that are building and communicating this need to, constantly get on the same page. And of course, your friend Somi, right? Post chain's real DeFi. I think that's the right message. Now, what comes with that? Tons of other things. So anyway, that's what's going on. Let's see who else is here. It's always nice to see you in the chat. Joey Torres, what's going on? Robert Keller, a holiday is a way of stepping back and taking a moment of looking at the small things. Reflecting is an amazing way to rejuvenate ourselves. I could not agree more. It's so important that we do that. We get navel gazing. We get too close to things, right? And sometimes we get overwhelmed by them. I don't know if you've met anyone whose hair is always on fire. You know what I'm talking about? Like everything is an emergency. Not everything is an emergency, right? And you have to back out of these things sometimes. And I think as men, especially, we have to be steady in our lives. We have to be confident in who we are, but also that's where faith comes in. You're just like, hey, this day is got enough concerns and worries of its own. So I'd encourage you, as you have a little bit of time, maybe if you're in the States here and you're coming up on the Thanksgiving holiday, take a minute, right? Think about, I always think about what I wanted as a kid, right? What did I want as a kid? And I don't mean like, I just want to play more, or I just want more toys or give me more stuff. What I mean by is what's the story we're telling at home? And I think about, are your kids, do they feel secure? Do they feel like they are loved unconditionally? Stuff like that. But Robert, thanks for that reminder. Stepping back and taking a look at the small things, reflecting on things is really important. Absolutely. I think even though court news is positive, people just don't like court stuff. I think it'll all be dropped. You think so? I hope so. What I really hope is that there's some big things that have to be decided in the long term. Number one is who owns the coins? Do you actually have coins in your wallet? Is money, in this case, on the blockchain speech? And I think there's a pretty good case for it, but that needs to be worked out. And if things don't go our way, you mess with our money and our kids, and you've got trouble in River City. Identity Blocks, what's up, man? You've been everywhere. Thanks so much for supporting and being here. I appreciate that so much. We just need a massive MetaMask airdrop from Christmas at these low prices. Hornet UK, you've been saying that many times, but you're also the one who says when Lambo. So I'll take that on advisement, I suppose. Mobius, what's going on? Hello, all. And Texan OG Day One hosting the Texan Tailgate. Good evening, Matt. Thank you for coming on the stream last night. Appreciate you. It was awesome. It was really awesome to have Daniel Miller there. I thought that was a really nice treat for him to jump in there. Fantastic. Even the cares of this life. There you go. All right, Pulse Bean QC. Is that right? I got that right. Hey there, been a while. I didn't watch you live. Greetings from Quebec. Fantastic. Welcome back. Got some friends up north. Boy, I'll bet you Quebec is probably getting chilly up there. But welcome back. Thanks for being here. It's a good sign. I have been seeing more and more people kind of coming back to the streams. We've been doing this. Rags and I have been consistent through this bear market. And a lot of this I feel like is like counseling, right? Comes to Crypto Heartbeat and kind of feel a little bit better, have a right perspective, get yourself realigned. It's like an adjustment, right? That's what we're doing. Academaciated. Hello, Heartbeat and fam. Thanks for being here, guys. So, like I said at the beginning of this, really excited about tomorrow at 4 p.m. Central Time. I'm going to be on the full English show with Graham Moore, who is the leader of the English Exit Group, which is the English Constitution Party. So what they're doing, I mean, this is England, right? The white background with the red cross, right? This is England, the country, and their independence. And it's interesting, the perspective. And I'm going to have Graham on my show as well. And you're going to get to learn about the challenges that they have as it relates to the things in the UK are really interesting. And of course, you probably know about Scottish independence. You've got Northern Ireland and Ireland. You've got Wales. It's an interesting thing. But one of the things you don't call Graham, and that is British, right? He doesn't like that. But what does it mean to be English? And he's got some really interesting stuff. He came to the TexitCon conference, flew all the way over, and it's really interesting. But I look at it from a crypto perspective and an ecosystem perspective, is that tokenizing communities and giving people and giving away things that they can own themselves, that are their brand, right? I'm not a big one on convincing you gotta love Texan or you've gotta love my token. No, you don't have to love anything. What if we were to give to the people the thing that they already care about, have trust, and already are in community around? And so the principle of this is this, and this is such a big principle. People support what they help to create. This is the essence of what we're doing in tokenizing communities. People support what they help to create. It's so often, you've probably been in a situation where, somebody's already got everything figured out and they come tell you what they're doing and you may or may not agree. They didn't ask your opinion and you're like, yeah, take it or leave it. Whereas what's so cool about this kind of era of blockchain and community and decentralization is that you can have input. And so when you're thinking about this movement towards nationalism and people saying, no, self-determination, it's on the rise, right? Because this is really an ultimate referendum in the world between globalism and nationalism. And people are saying, no, I think decisions are better made at home than they are far, far away, right? We're about to this point where the globalists want the decisions in Davos to affect you right here in Central Texas. And we're saying no to that. We're saying, no, we can handle things right here ourselves. And so that's Texas independence. But the same thing is happening around the world. And when I met Graham Moore, I was blown away. Why? Because he's like, hey, we're just like you. And that's the thing we're seeing through this communication network with streaming and doing all this stuff, is that people, they're not much different. They may talk a little bit differently than you, but the things that they care about and the things that they want for their families are very, very similar. And that commonality is something that we didn't have. When I was growing up, I think about being raised by, they were baby boomers. Baby boomers raised me, and then they got raised by Depression era parents. And of course, their whole thing, my grandfather's born in 1911. He grows up in the Depression. He goes to World War II, right? What does it look like? When you get out of the war, you just like, kids are to be seen and not heard. And then we got the baby boomers, and then kind of that hangover. Now with communication and Gen X and all this, we're like, no. This whole, Cold War hangover has got to go. And what we're going to see is we're going to see Gen Xers come in to leadership. And because we question authority. What does that mean for leadership in the world? Is I think that this is the time has come for things to be, um, this nationalistic thing to be really pushing back on globalism. And there's just too much. They always overplay their hand, right? This whole idea that you will own nothing and be happy, or you will eat the bugs. Nope, sorry, we're not going to do that. We're gonna do it. We're gonna go alone. We're gonna manage ourselves, govern ourselves, the consent of the governed. And so we're going to see that all over the world. Well, where are people going to do their transactions? And that's the thing that's really incredible. This crisis era that we're in actually coincides with a changing of the guard in the financial world. This is the first time in human history where political power and financial power have been separated. And it coincides with a crisis era politically. And so what we're doing and how we're going to build this infrastructure. We're going to have all of these communities. And we've got credibility now. We'll continue to have more and more credibility because we're going to say no. And think about the empowering of this. You are contributing, whether you live in Texas or you're a part of the Philippines project or you're in England, it doesn't matter. Do you want to support people's ability to be self-determined? Well, heck yeah, you do, right? Because that's the key. The human heart wants to be free. And so we want to support that. But I think the place that's going to be most free is the place where we're defending the true tenets of DeFi, and that we're going to have freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom to transact, freedom of privacy. These things are going to be very, very important. And all the people that are railing against it now and are like, no, 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 let's just go along to get along, they'll be appreciative, I think, long term when they realize what the real motivation is behind this centralization that we're seeing in this world. What a dichotomy, right? Centralization versus decentralization. It's big stuff. Big stuff. No bugs. That's right. No bugs. Let's not eat the bugs. People support what they help to create. Field of dreams. Yeah, if you build it, they will come, right? BM Digital Wealth Group in Australia has large members and many coaches around the world, and webinars representing every week. 80% talk about Richard Heart ecosystem. Fantastic. The Digital Wealth Group in Australia has large membership, I assume, and many coaches around the world, and webinars representing every week. Well, there's another piece of data. There's so many people. There's so many things. And, that's the thing that's, I think, is discouraging about days like this when you see kind of 10% drop across all of the Pulse X, and Hex. And I think it blows the wind out of people's sails. It's okay. It's okay, folks. We've seen this before. And I think that, it's not a complete decoupling, but still things are extremely uncertain in the marketplace. But I think that what really is the FUD that people really get down about is they see other things moving and they're like, well, why aren't we moving? There's a lot here, but think about the people at the beginning of Hex, right? When Richard came out and said he was going to build a better Bitcoin, they talk about people like RG3 and what was it? Maddie and Coffee and what was it? Litecoin Jesus, what dollar cost crypto, and all the greats, Kinetics and Brizology. These folks that were there at the beginning, and they believed. And if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. So we just, there's really nothing that can get us down. So don't be discouraged. Santa Claus is coming to town. Richard Hart is coming to town. Richard Hart, folks, I really truly believe that he's a very important person in the 21st century. I really do. He talks about Hex getting a Nobel Prize. I don't think that's the way it's going to go. I think what he thinks is the glory is not what the glory is. I do really believe. Hang on. I do really believe that the glory will be his, though. I really do. The glory will be his. Why? I think it's because of what he's going to establish, and he's going to not let you forget it, right? Kind of like, hey, I called the top. Do you remember that? I think what's going to end up happening is he's going to force this topic. He's going to call the question, if you will, about what is it speech? When you push that button in MetaMask, is that speech? You pay the gas fee, you write to the blockchain. Because if you think about code, if you're a person who types in code and you weren't like work for hire, that is your copyright. That's yours. You're an author, just like if you wrote a book, right? People can't just take that and say it's mine. And when you write, that's an expression of you. And of course, the Citizens United case established that when it comes to political speech. The question is your money on the blockchain speech? That's a big topic. And I think that that's going to be part of the glory. That's what I think Richard Hart is going to be like. Hey, I defended you when you were hating on me. I mean, I really think that's the case, right? All these people, right, that are just trying to get theirs, to step on your neck to get theirs. And here's a guy who's an actual advocate. I do. I really do. I think we're going to see an amazing thing happen. But also keep in mind that there's a lot of whales that resonate with Richard. There's a lot of people who are watching from the sidelines who appreciate what he's doing. And of course, there's story after story of builders that are building on the Pulse chain. But I will say this: it's not easy getting into the Pulse chain, right? New layer one. It's not easy, and it's going to have to become more and more easy, right? And now we got an additional click. That's okay. We just help guide people. And you know what? Just have that attitude. And I'll tell you what, when the green candles come, it becomes much, much easier. But boy, this is the time. This is the time. Being positioned in the market at the bottom is the key. So do not be discouraged. I remember when they arrived as a bunch of noobs. That's so great. Back in the day, I mean, I wasn't even involved. I came in, just before big payday because I saw a TV ad at 2 a.m. Can you believe that? Somebody actually put together a TV ad. Richard Hart did the voiceover, and I didn't know anything about this. And I'm watching TV and I'm like, hey, do you want to be rich? And it talked about big payday and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay. And we started watching Hexo on D Live. And the rest is history, my friends. And then Richard said he was going to fork Ethereum. Let's not forget what a big deal that is. And the fact that majority of people have no idea that they've got coins over on the Pulse chain. All right, cough button again. All right. I don't think we have even seen Richard Hart final form yet. No, 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 absolutely not. You know, just imagine when this stuff is behind him. You imagine what it's going to be like, how cool it's going to be to see Richard. Somebody said last time I talked about this, they're like, what if Richard like gets super ripped and he's like almost unrecognizable because he's like machine, right? You know what I mean? Like that 45-year-old guy that's absolutely ripped. Um, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. We can only hope, right? What about Rabby Wallet? You know what? I don't know a bunch about Rabby Wallet, but I do know that Crypto Coffee did a stream. He was talking a lot about the specifics of how to use the bridge, and he mentioned Rabby. He also mentioned internet money. Um, let's just remember MetaMask. Obviously popular, but they're going to be going through a KYC scenario. But let's keep in mind they're not the ones that have like the SHA-256 algorithm. They don't have like a corner on that. They're just popular. Everyone uses, and has been using MetaMask. There are a lot of other ways in which you can create seed phrases and you can import into these other wallets, but there's going to need to be, and I think KG is obviously the one in our community who has built the internet money wallet. And so there are other options out there, and we're going to have to be looking at those, but they're doing everything they can to try to make it difficult, whether it be regulatory, all this stuff. But you know what? I really foresee in 2024, we're going to have another election too, right? And we're going to see some things change. It's either going to be, you know, election shenanigans again, and everybody's just going to be in an uproar because they, let's say they do rig the election. It's kind of the end, right? The United States empire is like, yeah, this is over, which is great for Texas independence and great for the Texan token, but it will be highly disruptive. But I don't know much about that Rabby wallet, Will, but thanks for asking. You better not sell. You better not rug. You better not suck. I'm telling you why Richard Hart is coming to town. Fantastic. The reason why we move different is because retail, also known as the free market, is what moves these assets compared to legacy, big institutional money, blue chips versus retail price movement. Very good. Absolutely. Extravagant Taste. Welcome back, dude. I have not seen you in forever. Bring on the Pulse Chain easy button. Tasty. Absolutely. That's what we need, don't we? It's good to see you. Thanks for being back. Haven't seen you in a while. Tortoise Johnny. Much love, brother. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I totally agree. We need an easy button. But um, True DeFi is something, I was talking to the people at the Texicon who are, they're my age and older for the most part, and they don't know the first thing about crypto. And so, onboarding, I've told them though, I said, this mimics the existing financial system. I mean, you don't relate to this, but you have a bank account and it has a number and a routing number, and you have an account number, and transactions have timestamps and date stamps. And, you know, you just don't see that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's not like it's, a completely different language. And so I think there's a lot of fear of uncertainty, not knowing what to do. I think that's a big part of what makes it quote unquote difficult. Um, Drix, more like hell action. Yeah, potentially. There are no winners on either side. Well, that's the thing that's so hard about this is that, everybody's like, oh, democracy, the end of democracy. Well, the very, very core two things in democracy is one, confidence in elections, and two, the rule of law. If you don't have those two things, you don't got much. And so people will not stand for it. They will not stand for it. Uh, Happy BPD anniversary. There you go. Tortoise Johnny. You use the Aurochs wallet. Yeah, there's another one, right? I think Randy Hilarski's a big Aurochs wallet fan. There's a lot of different places that you can store your keys. So absolutely. I'm not endorsing anything at this point in time. Not that you would care, but we do definitely need to have an alternative. My son wants a shout out. What is up, my brother? My son's sitting over playing. What are you playing, dude? Roblox. I don't get it. I don't get it, friends. I'm old. Crypto Heartbeats, old and crusty. You can use a simulation of a transaction ahead of time. Oh, okay. Very good. Fantastic. I agree. I wish I could buy from Canada directly on Pulse Chain and skip ETH fees. Well, my understanding is OX Coast. I mean, that's the first, on ramp, if you will. But we're going to see more and more infrastructure being built. But OX Coast is a great way to have a fiat on ramp directly into Pulse Chain, and they continue to work. I mean, that's not easy work. So I'm so glad that people are taking on the hard stuff as well. So, all right, this is the time in Crypto Heartbeat where I'm going to put the invite link in the chat. I'm going to give you, if you want to come on, I'm going to give you 5 minutes, right? And if I like you, I might have you on for longer. But I kind of want to cycle through some folks and just say hello to you. Yeah, come on in if you want to stream and you want to say hello. I don't want to shill random tokens and those type of things. But if you want to say hello and step in and chat it up, let's do it. It's a Sunday night. Why not? Let's do it. You got a question, or you need some counseling. You just need to get something off your chest. Let's do it. Let's do it. So there's the StreamYard link if you want to come in. I'll see you in the green room there. But the most important thing is, one, it's family friendly, so no cussing, and two, make sure you have clothing on. Those are like the only two requirements I've got. Okay, those are the two things. Roblox is the new doom for Windows 95. Dude, Identity Blocks, that's so true. I had like a laptop. What was it? It was in the 90s. Remember Wolfenstein 3D, dude? Do you remember that? Yeah, I need a shout out for Wolfenstein, right? The old Doom. We used to play Doom. I thought it was so cool, man. We used to play Load Runner. Anybody out there play Load Runner on the Commodore VIC 20? Man, those were the days. My brothers had VIC 20, Commodore 64. Yeah, we play all that stuff. Load Runner. I remember playing that. This is how old I am. Oh yes, I need a lot of counseling. Well, come on, dude. Let's go, Robert. Let's chop it up, man. I think counseling, group counseling is some of the most powerful stuff. So you can share. You can share here. So folks, I've opened up the stream. If you want to come in and say hello, come on in and say hello. Identity Blocks, you ought to come in and say hello. You've been in here so much. Oh yeah, the classic graphics. I mean, I was playing Pong back in the day, Atari. My My friend had the Odyssey. We play all kinds of things. I remember having to blow into the cartridges to make sure that they'd work. Pineapple Love, what's going on? DJ Bomber's here. I had a Commodore 16. You mean the really? I remember Commodore made the VIC 20 at the beginning. Did they actually call it the 16? It was way back. I remember my first I had a Mac Classic. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. I upgraded it to 8 megabytes of memory. I remember I was using Corel Draw back in the day, having scalable fonts. That was the greatest thing. I was like so proud because I had scalable fonts and the guy down the hall was still using his DOS prompt. I'm like, dude, I got scalable fonts. Um, what's up, Tortoise Johnny? Atari, Commodore 64. Absolutely. The Commodore 64 was a regular thing. All right, hang on. I got it. My wife's buzzing in on me here. This is what you get on Sundays, hanging out with your son at the office, um, getting ready for mealtime at the house. Colco Vision, what was that? Okay, I'm not familiar with that. Remember? Yeah, I wish I did. Got to head back to work yet, but yes, I played Load Runner back in the day, dude. It's the Sinclair ZX Spectrum 48. I remember the Sinclair. Um, Was Sinclair one of the ones that you could build out of the back of the, like, electronics magazines? I remember that Sinclair. It was Sinclair and Commodore. Um, all right. It looks like dinner's almost ready. I'll say I'll do this for no more than 15 minutes. All right. I'm getting poked from all sorts of angles. Trump like libertarian. Let's see. Um, Javier Milei wins Argentina's presidency. Okay, that's huge. So he's the Trump like guy. He's the guy with the hair. Isn't it funny? The politicians with the hair. He was on with Tucker Carlson. I don't know if you saw the interview with him and Tucker Carlson, but this is an example of what's to come, right? Obviously, Trump was the first one to kind of push back on these things, but we're seeing kind of this nationalistic pride and populism and nationalism on the rise. And people are just realizing, you can't put out there, yeah, you're going to eat bugs and you're going to be in lockdown and you can't travel. You have to be inside of a 15-minute city. You're going to have a social credit score and a digital ID and a CBDC. People are like, hold on, you're going too fast. People aren't going for it. And so this new crop of Gen X leaders, right? And Javier is one of those. This is it's exciting, but it's a movement, folks. People are pushing back. And I think that there's this is just like the book generations talk about. I mean, this is our responsibility as Gen X, in my opinion, to stand up and to rewrite this ship. And you see this in our popular culture, right? For example, I think a good example of this would be Joe Rogan, right? Whether you like Joe Rogan or not, I don't really care. But Joe Rogan represents something that I think a lot of people of my generation can relate to. It's like, all right, let's have a conversation. And you see that with Elon Musk as well. It's like, okay, all right, we disagree. Okay, all right, not a big deal. And that's the thing that I think is refreshing to people is that somebody that can kind of say, hey, I'm not going to get worked up about stuff. We're going to have a dialogue and a discussion. I'm going to know, I'm going to tell you where I stand. But this whole issue of censoring people because you don't like what they have to say, I mean, it's so damaging and it's so um, I don't know, it erodes um, discourse, right? We need to have this kind of interaction, but so many people are trying to draw everybody off sides, and so I feel like there's a group of leaders. This guy Vivek, Ramaswamy, he's the kind of guy I think that kind of represents that. Um, Gen X to millennial kind of thing to say, hey, let's have a discussion. So we'll see. Richard Hart's a big fan of his. We'll see. It was a great interview with Tucker. I think it exposed him really well to the world. Tucker's doing an incredible thing. I mean, to think that you get fired and you become like 10 times as big is so awesome. The boss. Okay, ColecoVision was the competitor of the Atari. It had paddleboard controllers with a number pad. Okay. There was so much at that time. It's funny. We didn't have much money. I grew up really pretty poor, and so I had to go over to friends' houses to go on any of their machines. But I remember the two big ones. Obviously, the Atari was huge, um, but it was the other one was the Odyssey, and it had these weird kind of joysticks. Um, Mobius, Umberto Gonzalez, blessings, heartbeat, and brothers in Christ. Cheers from Bogota, Colombia. Dude, you're everywhere, man. You're in Miami now. You're in Colombia. Um, Colombia. Somebody that I was talking to was in Colombia, and they said, it's surprising. There are places you don't want to go in Colombia, but actually a really cool environment. Hopefully, you're enjoying yourself there. Um, and folks, I'm gonna wrap up this stream. I just wanted to basically review and connect with you guys. I'm really excited about this pulse chain ecosystem. I believe in it fundamentally that we have to have an alternative to the centralized parties. One of the things I think is inevitable in all this is that essentially we're going to have to sacrifice Bitcoin on the altar of centralization, right? We're seeing it become more centralized. Ethereum certainly, because it's kind of the public good, right? It's something that it's already compromised in my opinion. The question is, where's the thing that's not going to be compromised? And because of the values of Richard Hart, I don't believe he's going to compromise his principles as it relates to DeFi. If anything, he's doubling down on that. This whole IPFS stuff, where you literally can run it off your desktop or engage with it directly with a contract, that's something that I think is it's it's huge. It's huge. Embracing true DeFi. Um, but we'll have our day in the sun. Don't be discouraged. There's a lot here. But tomorrow, 4 p.m. Central, excited about connecting with Graham Moore and really excited about a new community, tokenizing a new community. It's going to be good. All right, folks, it's time for dinner. I hope you're doing well. I hope that you have a great Thanksgiving. We'll see you here this next week. Take care of yourself. And I will have the link in the socials, TexHex tomorrow. Take care of yourself and do not mess with Texas. Take care, everybody. See ya.